Welcome back to the Nordic Championship with these games with Finland versus Sweden. Ostersunds FK took game one, but a lot of things can still happen. It was a very even game. But we'll be back with that very soon. First of all, we need to handle something completely different. Because we mentioned earlier there's a box sitting right here. We have been told that we need to open this package after the first match. The first match has been played, so I am just going to go ahead and open this box.
There's another box in the box.
There's a box in the box. Exhibit will be so happy about this. Okay, so there's a...
Read it out loud for me, Sam.
Right, there's a note here that says, challenge. Okay, so there is time for rock, paper, and scissors. The winner will choose you can't see it right now. They choose a team that they believe will win, okay? The loser has to choose the other team. The winner of that challenge will, after this game is decided, will eat what is in the box. Or will decide, okay, will I eat what's in the box or will my co-host do it? So the one that wins...
they can choose if they want to eat whatever in here.
Okay, and we don't know what's in the box.
Do we
when that is decided, you can open the next box.
Do we get to know what's in the box before we choose?
No, I don't think so. No, we're not. Okay, we just found out we do not get. The production says there's a hint inside. Sweetly disgusting. So I don't know. I don't know what's in this. Okay, so but we don't open this box right now. I'm gonna just leave this right there. It feels like a ticking time bomb right now. Okay, so it's rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Like it's like, do we open up on scissors or? Like, is it rock, paper, and scissors? Like, open?
No, it's scissors. Rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah. Okay.
So on the fourth one.
Okay.
You ready?
All right. Fine. I'm ready. All right.
Best of three or best of one?
Best. I don't know. Best
of one.
Best of one.
Best
All
of
right.
one.
Okay. Are you ready?
Best of seven.
Okay.
No, best of one.
Best of one. Okay. Rock, paper, scissors. And of course, as everyone knows, most people choose the scissors, and I knew that, so I went with the rocks, and that means that I'm the winner. Which puts me in a particularly difficult situation because I don't know. No, we're not going to go best of three. I don't know, to be honest, which team is going to win this next match. It's really difficult, but I'm just going to stick with Sweden all the way right now because even though they looked shaky from time to time, I put a lot of my trust into Adept. His LeBlanc was on point. He's probably not going to be able to play this for this match, but we'll see and we'll find out because we are in Champion Select.
Is this prediction for game 2 or for the entire series?
For game 2, I think.
Okay, so for game 2.
For game 2,
That's
okay.
what it's all about. Okay, so interesting.
Yeah. All right, so SWE is off the table. So
let's go Finland then.
Same goes, all right. Let's go Sweden. Same goes for LeBlanc as well. So we'll see neither of these mages for this game, which means that a lot of the things we saw in game 1 is right now off the table. Okay, so it's a completely different game now without these two burst mages. Thresh is also off, and same goes for Draven versus Unforgiven, which means we have 2 bans left.
Yeah, gotta say that Yasuo and Lucian are the 2 ones that are really standing out to me at the moment. Both were banned in game number 1, so is that going to be the 2 next bans, or does Ostersund want to first pick the Yasuo, perhaps get that onto Adept, who had a great showing in game number 1, really try to get him on a carry, but then you have to ask yourself, is it really a champion that you want to first pick? We're about to find out.
Yeah, Placeholder had the opportunity now to leave both Yasuo and Lucian open and pick whichever is not chosen by Ostersunds FK, or they can go to ban one of them and kind of force Ostersund to play either of these champion. Of course, we saw the Silas in game 1. Didn't really do that much, I would argue.
And Lucian is open. I think this is a clear first pick for Ostersund. Don't really see a big reason not to pick the Lucian unless you have a specific counter in mind. And seeing a counter to the Lucian, well, that would be a big surprise to me if someone would just randomly, after he's been strong for like 10 patches in a row, someone would just, like Unforgiven would just figure out a counter that no one else knows of. No, that's going to be the Lucian first pick.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's the Lucian. The Urgot will be the immediate pick of choice for Placeholder123, and of course not want to play versus the Braum Lucian, and also with Braum being a strong champion, that is something they're gonna go with, leaving Ezreal open for them to pick him later on. Since FK now have their second rotation, going with the Sion top lane that worked so well, but Urgot of course being a little bit more annoying into the Sion. Still, Kreis was so strong on this, even though he died once up top lane in a 1 versus 1 with his Silas last game. Still was very strong throughout the rest of it, and now it's a Nautilus for Shred down the bot lane.
That is very interesting. It's not a champion that we've been seeing a lot of recently. It's not on my beautiful notebook here of all the champions that I'm looking out for. Nautilus is a bit of a curveball that SWE is throwing right here. And I spoke earlier about me having talked to the manager and coach of Ostersund earlier on, and he was talking about that they had some special stuff prepared. Not sure if they're going to be pulling it out here, but maybe the Nautilus is the start towards that and versus the immobile AD carry of the Vayne. That could be something that works out.
But also, if they manage to survive this lane with a Vayne and a Braum, of course, having all of the push pressure going to the Lucian and the Nautilus, the Vayne still now has 2 tanks to hit instead of the 1 for game 1. So maybe Spectral will be a little bit more of a priority champion on the Vayne if the game progresses that far. Now, the Kha'Zix has been banned by Placeholder123, not wanting to face that with their team composition, and the Jarvan. So now focusing on the junglers for these 2 teams.
Absolutely, and with the Nautilus pick, I think you have to ask yourself, why are they picking this over something like an Alistar, which would be the more standard choice? And I think the big answers is that Nautilus provides a lot of wave clear and pushing early on. With that E, he can push the wave really easily, together with the Lucian, who's also able to do that. That's going to mean bot lane priority for Ostersund. And I really want Markoon to get a strong jungle matchup here, because when you've got a pushing bottom lane and you've got a Sejuani on the enemy team, you can really play very aggressive in her jungle and punish her, so something like an Olaf could be the pick here.
Absolutely. I'm going to mention that because Lee Sin is taken off the table together with Kha'Zix and Jarvan, so which are these junglers that can still put on the pressure on Placeholder123 with Tanus Sejuani in the jungle, Rice also being one of the priority picks. Here is going to be chosen for the mid lane, and now with a final pick left, they will reveal their jungler.
I would love the Olaf here just for that insane ability to punish early on. Also, when it comes to Placeholder rounding out their team comp, you've got to look at some of the long-range mid laners to counter out this Ryze, really keep him at bay. So something like the Orianna, which has been played a lot in this tournament. I don't think it's that strong of a champion myself, but these players have really been enjoying it. Or something like a Syndra or a Cassiopeia that can just keep the Ryze from far away and stay at max range.
The self-proclaimed faker of Finland, Jamaru, did play the Orianna, or is it self-proclaimed? Like, I don't know if it's like Finland talk about him as the Finnish faker. I have nothing to say against that, but he did play the Orianna, didn't go that well. Instead, now with the Malzahar, a lot of focus handling both tanks and, of course, the Kayn that was picked by Markoon for the jungle. And I feel like Markoon will have a little bit of difficulties getting close to the Vayne, to the priority targets with a Malzahar with the ultimate of that, with Braum standing in the way with Sejuani and Urgot. But maybe, I don't know, Kayn is a champion that I honestly did not think of looking at this team composition.
Yeah, Kayn is not considered one of the absolute strongest champions right now, but so much potential for invades because of his mobility. He can easily go into the enemy jungle because he has both the Q and the E to get away from the enemy jungle, get over walls, so he can play very aggressively without really putting himself in too much danger. And with a pushing bottom lane, I'd love to see Markoon putting on more pressure on the bottom side of the map, because I think if you're picking Nautilus over Alistar, over Gragas, over Tahm Kench, over these other strong melee supports, I think you need to utilize that in some way, utilize the pushing pressure that Nautilus gives, and that's going to be up to Markoon.
All right, so what do you think about my odds looking at these team compositions? Sweden versus Finland, and I chose Sweden. And looking at this team composition, you have the scaling Ryze, you have the strong early power of the Lucian into the Vayne and the Braum, but of course with the Malzahar on the other side, with the Vayne having these 2 tags, the support and top lane, can be something that will be taken down fairly quickly, especially with an Urgot, and also can help a lot with his damage in this situation.
Yeah, there is a lot of tankiness and an insane amount of crowd control for Placeholder123 right now. There's pretty much hard CC on everyone on the team, which is not something that you see every day. So a lot of potential to lock down whoever is going to be in the front line for Ostersund, and then for the Vayne to take them down. But he's going to be having a lot of a harder time earlier on in the laning phase than he had in the previous game, because then he was up like 10 or 15 CS by 10 minutes over the Ezreal. Now it's going to be a completely different story versus the pushing lane of Nautilus and Lucian.
Absolutely, and that is something that the Finnish team will have to play around, because Spectral was very strong versus the Sion. This is something we saw in Game 1, but what can he do in this situation versus the power of the Swedish bot lane? We're about to find out. The players are running out on Summoner's Rift. And I am excited for this game, as Game 1 was like very even.
It was the most even game that we've been seeing in the tournament so far, just neck and neck at all the points, and I think it's pretty much the Baron steal from Markoon that settled the game. If the Baron would have gone over to Placeholder123 at that point, that could have been a completely different game, and I think that would have resulted in a Finnish victory should that Baron not have been stolen. So very interested to see what Markoon can do this game, not on a champion that's really considered to be really in the meta right now. Also running with a Conqueror, which is definitely something that you can do, especially when you're up against several tanks. Really interested to see what you can do on this Kayn, looking for the early pathing here. Where does he want to go? Kayn does the AoE camps really well, so if he wants to start on something like a camp that is standing right next to here and then just go towards the bottom lane, maybe go to an invade on the bottom side of the map. Looking forward to see what Markoon can do in this pick.
Absolutely. Raptor start for Markoon as he takes that very quickly on this Kayn. The red buff start for Tanu, and also just looking at these lanes, Tanu should know what is up and know exactly where Markoon has started.
Oh, max range Q.
Yeah, he's gonna take a little bit of damage from this. Auto attack and decimating smash. He's gonna lose about 1/4 of his HP just moving into this lane. In the main lane, though, a lot of things has happened as we were not watching, as both of these players are down low on HP. Both having, though, the corrupting potions, so gonna be able to heal up fairly quickly. Level 2 advantage right now for Adept.
I think when you're looking at different items for these mid laners, the early trading becomes very interesting, because what Ryze really wants to do is get the tier of the goddess, recall to get the tier, and then TP back to the lane, while Malzahar's big item that is looking for is the Lost Chapter, which is a lot more expensive. So I think this really favors the Ryze if you're able to be fighting a lot early on, forcing the fights and then recalling when you have the money for the tier, but Malzahar can't buy the Lost Chapter. So I think this is smart, taking the fights here for Adept, really utilizing the different power spikes that they're going for with the first recall.
Absolutely, and Markoon doing a little smart thing there, dropping a couple of CS on the Krug camp to be able to move towards the other side of the map and get the Rift Scuttler earlier, as he saw Tanu down the bot side. So Markoon right now not focusing the bot lane, as he doesn't really need to. They're handling it well on their own. Tanu around, hovering around mid lane, noticing that Night Fury is in a little bit of trouble. Wave pushing towards Night Fury's turret, so we'll see what Tanu can do with this. Markoon is up top side. He is nowhere near this. Instead, gonna go for a gank of his own up versus Genji, who just got CC'd, gets knocked up, has to flash away and safely under the turret. Night Fury getting dangerously low here as Adept has to flash to make sure that he gets away from Tanu.
Yet so fast with the passive and the phase rush there, Adept almost able to run away from the Sejuani Q, but not quite forced the flash there. And I think that's a good trade for Placeholder, as mid lane is going to be a point of contention for both of these teams, while top lane is going to be a little bit more of just the tanks hitting at each other, more of a snooze fest right there. Still want to see Markoon put on some more pressure into the enemy jungle, but to able to do that, I think he needs to get the first recall off and then try to look for some aggression on towards Tanu.
Absolutely. Both of these junglers have their blue buffs to pick up. They're going to do that right now and then decide what the next step will be. Raptors have just respawned. So there are a lot of different ways that Markoon can rotate this map right now as Tanu moving towards the bot lane.
I think what's so interesting about this Kayn is that you really have a third resource. When it comes to other junglers, you really want to be maximizing your experience and gold. But for Kayn, you want to be maximizing the points that you get towards your transformation, because that's such a big power spike to you. So actually, just going into the enemy jungle, fighting the enemy jungle, getting both to low HP and then running away is usually going to be a good trade for the Kayn, since you want to unlock that transformation as early as possible, and you do that by fighting the enemy champions. So if Markoon just wants to fight Tanu one-on-one and then recall, that's going to be a good situation for him generally, as it's going to get him closer to that third resource, which the other champions do not have.
Absolutely, and Markoon with a really good timing on that Raptor camp is going to steal it right in front of Tanu's eyes. Tanu in a little bit of an annoying situation up top lane. That is the first blood where Kryze picks up a kill 1 versus 1 with this Urgot. Up for CS as well, going to push this lane and force the teleport out of Genji. So good play there by Ostersunds FK's top lane.
Yeah, big mistake there from Janny. I watched the replay and he pretty much walked into a fully charged Scion Q, and that thing has been nerfed, now deals 30 damage less on the full charge, but still goes down one-on-one because he just walked into it as the Urgot. So a mistake that I don't think we're that used to seeing from Janny. I think mechanically he played last game really well on not the mechanically easiest champion of Sylas.
Both heal and ignite used now by Placeholder123's bot lane. Shred moving forward, flashing, getting the CC off. Spectral flashing away on his own. And Tanu has arrived. One more auto attack will finish the job. Unforgiven gets that kill using the heal. Will keep Shred alive just for a few seconds. Make sure Unforgiven also can get away from this situation. Spectral, no, the flash forward. Spectral did not respect that flash opportunity for Unforgiven, and that is the double kill for the Swedish bot lane.
Wow, this is why this champion's been banned like 97% of the time in professional play. You don't want to give Lucian, and you definitely don't want to give Lucian and then give him 2 kills early. He's going to become so oppressive as soon as he's able to recall and pick up his items. Unforgiven really has the potential to run away with this game right now.
That is going to be a huge problem right now for the Finnish bot lane, and a little bit of an overly aggressive play by Markoon will force him to burn his flash as his mid laner was nowhere near. And Unforgiven, of course, did not want to leave the bot lane before he handled the minion wave. So that's a little bit of a misstep, followed up by that brilliant play down the bot lane. Also going to mention that it was actually a 2 versus 3 situation even down the bot lane, so
makes it even more impressive for this Nautilus Lucian duo lane. And gotta say that was definitely a mistake from Markoon, getting forced to use the flash, but also getting in some damage onto Tanu is going to get him closer to that transformation, which is such a huge power spike. I would be very surprised to see him go for the Shadow Assassin transform this game. Really expecting to see the roster, because when you're up against several tanks and even kind of the tanky Vayne, which is going to be likely going for the same build as last time around with the Frozen Mallet, the Phantom Dancer, and maybe even the Maw. Probably not Maw this game, but still going to be a tanky variation of the Vayne. I don't like that Shadow Assassin. I think this is going to be the Rost transformation for Markoon.
Absolutely, and with that, he will be tanky enough to handle these team fights. He's in a good position right now. It's very even with Tanu, and going for these invades. Might be able to steal this red buff. Yes, he is going to move forward and smite seal it out of the hands of Tanu. So Tanu is in a little bit of an annoying situation right here in the jungle as the lane pressure is on the side of the Swedish teams.
And it's starting to look more and more that you're going to have to decide if you want to eat what's in that box or not, because Ostersund are starting to get a substantial advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. Up top lane, here comes the dive. There is really not that much that an Urgot can do, especially not since he already died 1 versus 1 versus Crisis. So a difficult situation and a completely different one from game 1, where Christ was the one that lost it 1 versus 1 in the early stages of the game. Also forcing the flash in the mid lane, Night Fury getting a little bit of a hello there from Shred.
And this is one of the big strengths of Kayn that you're not thinking that much about. His ability to dive with that Umbral Trespass. That ultimate will make you drop tower aggro, so you can take like 1 or 2 tower shots, then use the Umbral Trespass, and then be able to drop the tower aggro for Christ to pick it up. So they didn't even have to use it in that dive, but that is something that Markoon can definitely utilize on this Kayn. I want to see more tower dives, and I want to see more focus on the top lane, because if you are going to be able to get the first blood tower here, that would be a very nice influx of gold for them.
Yeah, absolutely. This is something that can be very scary if you fall behind too much up on the top side, as Janji now struggling a little bit on his Urgot. We'll see what Tanu can do on his Sejuani. So far, it's just been keeping up in farm. Been trying to get a few ganks off down towards the bot lane. Now focusing this Mountain Dragon. It's gonna go uncontested.
Yeah, really utilizing the knowledge that they have of Markoon's positioning. Knew he was top lane, and then now they see that Adept is mid lane with that blue. No, it's actually not with the blue buff. That must have been Markoon stealing that away. Anyways, they knew that he was top lane, and they choose to go for the Mountain Dragon. That's really jungling 101. You get the knowledge of where the enemy jungler is, and then you can do something on the other side of the map. And when you've got a Vayne on the team that's going to be going for that Blade of the Ruined King into Rage Blade item build, this Baron buff is always going to be very important. It really goes up in value the better of a Baron take you have, because that's really going to be reducing the amount of time that the enemy team can leave the Baron without vision.
Absolutely. We saw Placeholder for a huge part of the game having very good vision control in game 1, so having that control around Baron will prove to be strong for them. But now fights are breaking out everywhere, and it proves to be a bad situation for the Swedish bot lane, although in the mid lane Sweden managed to pick up the kill on Night Fury as they knew that he did not have his flash. But Shred was caught unawares. Down bot lane, 3 versus 2 situation. We can see Adept now moving towards this bot lane. Night Fury is gone. It's going to Realm Warp in to make sure this turret doesn't go down, but a few of these platings have already fallen.
Yeah, they're going to be controlling the Herald on the other side of the map. Markoon is utilizing this advantage, so once more, jungling 101. Markoon sees Tamu on one side of the map, makes a play on the other side. Is Unforgiven going to be punished for it, though? Still has that relentless pursuit to be able to get away from potential Tanu engage here.
Yeah, I think he knows Tanu should still be around, feels confident that he will be able to avoid the CC. Making sure that Markoon can take this Rift Herald. Still no flash in the mid lane. Another focus onto Shred this time. Fred managed to flash away. Going back
what are you doing?
Oh, no, that was a little bit of a misplay in there. Still managed to survive it, so no harm, no foul in the mid lane. Rift Herald has arrived. It's going to start breaking down these turret platings. Down mid bot lane, there comes the dive with the Scion also going to arrive to help. Shred this time goes golden to stay alive, and Unforgiving is on a killing spree. Teleport not being able to cancel that will mean Adept arrives to pick up the kill as well. Not going to stick around mid lane pushing. And will want to join that fray, although I'm not sure that he actually needed to use that teleport in that situation, as here comes Janju up top lane. It's going to have a good time just gaining a little bit of CS back, a little bit of turret plating, having a breather, but a huge play by Sweden, picking up kills all over the map.
I am starting to worry more and more about the contents of that box, because...
Well, you don't know if it's a bad or a good thing in the box, though.
We don't know yet, but I'd prefer not to find out. Anyway, I think that Placeholder are not putting pressure on the proper places on the map. You know you're going to be having a losing 2 versus 2 dual lane early on, especially before the Blade of the Ruined King is unlocked for the Vayne. Still, that's been the lane of focus for Tamu. Sure, Braum and Sejuani are a strong combination of champions when it comes to putting down that CC, but I still don't think the bottom lane is the place where you're supposed to be putting on your pressure, especially when you had the TP disadvantage and Christ could come in to turn that around on the Scion. Diving Illusion Nautilus early on as the Vayne Braum lane. Don't think that's what you want to be doing.
No, absolutely, it was not what they wanted to be doing. Now,
still got a lot of damage on the tower,
though. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, this turret is going to lose a lot of HP, losing all of these turret platings, even going to fall, I believe, before Unforgiven and Shred can arrive. Adept is here to try to punish the Finnish bot lane for this, together with, of course, Markoon. Teleport coming in, but it's still going to be a 4 versus 3. Glacial Fissure in the air, and now Spectral looking for which focus he will have. Spectral knocked up into the air, turning this around. Can he do it, though? His tread is dangerously low. He goes down finally, and it is a 2-for-1 after that 3 versus 4 fight, and a triple kill now for Markoon. They're going to have the revenge for that turret. Also finding Tanu underneath his turret. Cannot survive this on his own. He is tanky, though, so it looks better than I expected.
Oh.
And Tanu gets the shutdown even on Markoon, as he was not quick enough to get away from the turret aggro. So I'm not sure what happened there, and neither is the Swedish team, but up on the top lane, turret getting dangerously low right now as Crazy is moving forward, trying to pick up something, while the rest of his team is... I don't know what they were doing down bot lane.
I'll tell you what happened in that dive. It starts with A and ends with Aftershock. I think that's pretty much what happened.
I think you're right. I think you're right. Aftershock is definitely a strong rune to run, especially in that situation. But I don't think anyone expected the Sejuani to be that tanky at this point, and that was a wasted flash if I ever saw one, because there is nowhere for Adept to run. That is the shutdown gold, and this is actually a lot of gold going back now to Placeholder123's pockets.
Yeah, importantly enough, able to get that first blood tower with gold onto the Vayne from killing that, so that's definitely something you want to be doing. Also got all of those tower plates together with the Mountain Dragon, and that's just going to be the flash forced from Unforgiven. He's looking very strong on this Lucian.
Dragon still being focused though, as Marcoon is not close enough just yet. Right now he has arrived, managed to steal it. And now it turns around to become a fight. It is going to sacrifice Shred in the situation as they were completely outnumbered. But Marcoon again showing who is the better smiter of these two junglers, managed to pick up that objective.
Yeah, one of the things I really dislike when it comes to these sort of steal attempts is when you go in with the entire team and try to steal. I think you either look for the fight or you just send in your jungler to steal. And Ostersunds just did the latter there. They just set up Marcoon up for the steal and then ran out as soon as possible, sacrificing Shred, who was already 0-3. So not the largest sacrifice. I think that's definitely worth it for the Mountain Dragon, equalizing that dragon count.
Absolutely. Although I think they were a little bit worried there with all of these players around, if Marcoon would be able to get close enough on his own. Still, he was able to get that dragon. And down bot lane, Adept is pushing in another turret. Still not that much map pressure from the Swedish team, although they're up in gold. But to be able to make this Lucian look good, 3-0-4 for the Swedish bot lane. But although Spectral actually, he got the shutdown. So he has died quite a bit, but he's still looking quite healthy. Like, he's not that far behind. Both of these supports have been the sacrificial lambs to make these marksmen shine. So I think that looking for the rest of this game, what worries me is if this game goes on for too long and Spectral gets into that position where he can just shred the front line off Ostersunds FK, and that will become a problem for them if they get into that situation, as Lucian is not as strong coming into the late game as Vayne is.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think a lot of the gold lead here for Ostersund is on Chryson this time, but that's not going to matter too much because Spectral actually has a gold lead over Unforgiven, about 400 gold up in this 1v1 matchup, even though Unforgiven has one more kill and one more assist, and that's because all of those tower plates as well as the first blood tower went down in favor of Spectral, so he's actually decently strong on this Vayne, and you're really looking for the 2-item power spike. Blade of the Ruined King, Ginsu's Rage Blade. That is the point where I want to see Placeholder starting to force the fights. I think right now they're making the correct decision. Hug your towers, play defensively, let the Vayne get to 2 items, and then you can start to look for these engagements.
Yeah, absolutely. With all of this power that Ostersunds FK have right now, you're expecting them to start cracking up turrets open and start opening up the map for themselves, and Placeholder123 are doing a good job at simply delaying this right now for as long as possible, keeping that turret with a sliver of HP alive down the bottom lane, forcing Adept to just play it a little bit more slowly before getting that turret in the mid lane. That turret is still fairly healthy, finally now getting the extra gold into their pockets, up 3k gold at 18 minutes. And of course it's an important gold lead, but not that strong in this situation. Oh, Spectral actually turning this around, forcing everything on Adept, but a huge knockup is going to catch Spectral, and he is managing to kite this, still on high HP, and although Kane is strong, not sure if he's strong enough, managed to get the other knockup. Here comes the teleport, 2 versus 2 still now, so much invested in this fight, and Marcoon just barely survives it. Now it's a 3 versus 1 for Christ as he is running away from this, but what can the rest of the Swedish team do as they are sacrificing their top laner right now to pick up that 1 kill on Spectral? Also, to mention that that was a shutdown that was picked up. It's the 3rd shutdown, I think, that Placeholder have been able to pick up. So getting this top turret now, is, of course, is very important, but look at the gold. It's starting to look dead even.
Placeholder are definitely catching up. I'm starting to think a little less about that box because they are looking quite strong. Also got to remember when you're talking this much about the gold gap is that there's going to be a QSS tax that's going to have to be paid by at least Marcoon and Unforgiven, and has already been paid by Adept, because that's simply what this Malzahar will do to the enemy team. After your first couple of items, you have to pick up that item to just be able to not get completely locked out again.
Absolutely, and I am worrying a little bit more right now. The Swedish team, though, still having the rise power. My problem is that there are so many champions that will be able to kite for Spectral, able to peel for Spectral so he can kite, and Adept will not be able to get that close. We saw Marcoon, of course, as you mentioned, with their Rost build going into this. Kayn, of course, is very strong versus a lot of these champions, but not so strong if you want to be able to handle Spectral. So how will you be able to zone this invisible tank shredder later into the game? That is my main concern right now. And I'm not sure that Christ starting up a little bit of a fight. Up top lane, Unbreakable will block most of this damage. You can see how much DPS Spectral already has on this Guinsoo's Rage Blade.
Yeah, it's just what I talked about, the 2-item power spike for the Vayne. Yeah,
absolutely. And Christ does not respect. You can see how quickly he went down in that little skirmish. And that means another turret right now for Placeholder123. The Swedish team looked so strong earlier, but now starting to fall just a little bit. Decides to fight it out under this turret. Unbreakable yet again is so strong. Gonna force the flash though from Titan as he can survive it forever, and turning this around, finds a hard CC and bursts Spectral. Now turned around on Tamu. Here is the Lucian that has been the main threat for this early game. Picks up another triple kill. Marcoon chasing, forcing the flash, does not have a Quicksilver Sash on his own. Instead gonna have the heal, just barely surviving this as the unforgiving Lucian picks up his 4th kill for that fight.
Is this gonna be the Baron setup for Ostersund? I actually don't think that they can go for it because the death timers are so short, but still they are starting to claw their way back into this game. Bill, they're actually gonna start it even though there's no mana on Unforgiven. He's gonna be putting out a lot of DPS with the Blade of the Ruined King, with the Mountain Dragon. Will a Placeholder be able to do anything to contest this? There's only Janji that's close to this.
Yeah, absolutely. Look at Baron's HP, 2k right now. They're gonna be able to finish it. And they're just gonna back off, as Janji did not dare to move any closer to that. So a good Baron pick up, killing it fairly quickly with this team composition as well. Vayne is not the only one that can kill Baron quickly, even though Unforgivable did not have any mana. And they're gonna go with the consolation prize of the Cloud Dragon, which of course with the extra movement actually isn't that bad for them to have.
Not terrible, but definitely nowhere close to the Baron Asher, of course. And I think what we're seeing in a lot of these fights is the Kayn pick working out really well for Marcoon. I might have to...
Oh, no. Adept standing around in the wrong position. And not a good way to go. Unforgiven as well tries to save his teammate, and now being the main focus, being knocked back into the rest of the enemy team, and knockups everywhere, picking up Spectral yet again. A Spectral was a little bit sacrificed there as they chase down Unforgiven under that turret. Still Sweden managed to turn this around as Christ picks up the final kill on Tanu, but now they need to make this Baron buff works. They lost it on Adept, they've lost it on Unforgiven, so Adept will not be able to split push. He does not have teleport either, so maybe not the worst of situation, as Krigs will be the split pusher right now in the bot lane, as the rest of the team are starting to group up in mid. Maybe finally we'll be able to get that mid lane turret.
That was a weird engage for Placeholder. I've got to say that they had Night Fury pushing out the mid lane at the same time they were diving bottom, and he didn't even start to rotate. He just stayed around in the mid lane and then started to back off. So just a 4 versus 5 fight as the unstoppable onslaught was coming in from Christ to finish that up. And I gotta say, this is really the Kayn pick showing dividends, working out really well at this point with the Rost transformation, with the Black Cleaver. You are shredding through this front line because 1, you've got so much sustain, 2, you've got so much tank killing power. You've got both the Conqueror, the Black Cleaver to shred the armor, and your Q doing max health damage. So Marcoon, he is such a nuisance for the front line of Placeholder at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely, and he has shown it on this Kayn, been very strong on this little bit more unusual pick for the jungle, but with a lot of junglers off the table, that is something you can go for. Something you also can go for is a pick off on Shred in the mid lane, and also a quick follow-up on Unforgiven. So this Finnish team is not letting up anywhere. They're falling behind a little bit in gold. They're falling behind quite a bit with the Baron buff, and still just pushing forward. Adept down the bot lane also needs to recall. Does not have the Baron power recall, so it's going to take forever to get a few more auto attacks out from that turret. It's not going to help anything when you're losing your inhibitor in the mid lane. And this is going to put this game into a stalemate right now, with Baron on the either side and super powered minions on the other.
Wow, that was such a decisive call, and I love this for Placeholder. There is never any doubt in their mind. There's just one call going out and everybody is going with that. That's just what happened in the mid lane. Everyone on the same page, just flashing in, bursting down, shredded, Unforgiven, positioning too aggressively on that duo lane. That's something that you have to be so careful of when you're trying to run that 1-3-1. Are the three people that are staying together gonna get caught out? And that's just what happened.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyone getting caught out right now is going to die in seconds, having that kill potential with the Malzahar and the Vayne. Finally, the Baron buff has not done that much as this has now run its course, not really giving anything to the Swedish team. Instead, it's been Placeholder actually regaining a lot and now looking for a fight in the mid lane, not right finding it on the correct target solution, dealing heavy damage on the sidelines right now, and Saitan is going to be the first one to go. Now chasing away the Finnish team, main focus on the Urgot, not hitting the CC, still going to follow this, flashing forward, getting all the slows they need, and the shutdown is there as Unforgiven still being so strong. Finally, Night Fury being the last one to fall as Adept picked that one up, and Sweden now yet again in the front seat.
MVP Unforgiven right there was able to get on the back line of Spectral, forcing him out of the fight on the Vayne. He was not able to put out almost any damage, while Unforgiven was contributing so much on this AD carry. And you can see him really shining on this more aggressive Lucian pick. Not the strongest Ezreal play last time around, but this time he is showing that he's a great Lucian player. One lane-handedly, then have been doing so well in these fights, and as I said, dashing in on the Vayne, forcing him out of the fight. I am impressed by Unforgiven this time.
Absolutely, and you said it earlier, Marcoon as well, really being a nuisance on this front line on Placeholder. They can't really do that much to peel for Spectral, because when they get too close, they have to worry about Marcoon, they have to worry about Adept and Christ and all of that nuisances as well. So there aren't that many things that Spectral can do in these fights. He tried to go for something, he was picked off by Unforgiven. And now again, like, Sweden are looking strong, and then they're throwing us a little bit, and then looking strong again, and it's like, this is a nail-biter right now. Also gonna find the rest of the team inside of this bush. It's a 4 versus 5 situation, as Adept is not even there. All the focus on Crisis. He's going to go golden, Unforgiven on a killing spree yet again. It's Unforgiven going ham on this team. Placeholder cannot handle it.
Wow, Unforgiven and Marcoon just shredding through the front line. You've got a Sejuani and an Urgot, two of the tankiest champions in the game. You'd think that they'd be able to keep up, but Conqueror Kayn just slicing through them like a hot knife through butter. There is not much you can do, and this might be the game, Sam.
15 seconds on Tanu and Saitan. Spectral gonna have to do this on his own for the next coming 10 seconds. And this is a tanky shred moving up towards this turret. And turret is gonna lose some HP before the minions even arrive. There are super minions here not really doing anything. And this is the question. Here comes the response. Main focus straight onto the Nexus, now turning around for the team fight. Spectral not even going to go for it. Spectral is not even in the fight, trying to fight it, but look at Adept and the damage Adept has. He's splashing forward. It's going to force Spectral away, and now Night Fury is there. Can't even get close to anything. It's a double kill on Marcoon. Nexus being focused, and that is the game. Sweden going to 2-0. The Finnish team. Placeholder123. It's Ostersund FK all the way.
They talked about the curveballs. They said they had something special planned. Just pulls out Nautilus and Kayn from nowhere, and it works out so well. Winning bottom lane, winning in the jungle, winning all of these fights. And while the first game was really close, this was a game that Östersund took decisive command of. Grabbed the Baron, they were able to just finish it out in style.
Absolutely, and I'm really happy to see them play on that level, although there are some pointers to talk about, like the way that they sort of got caught unawares in a lot of situations, and some of these fights, especially the last one, actually was mostly Placeholder123, not really like going for this desperation move. They were the ones with initiative, they were the ones that surprised the Swedish team 5 versus 4, but in that position they were in, I felt like Spectral was kind of hanging around in the back, not really getting into a position where he could do that much, so must have felt quite heartbreaking in that situation to go for your final hurrah kind of, and still not in a 5 versus 4 situation being able to get anything from it, not even getting one kill. Although I gotta say, like, the Nautilus pick You mentioned it. Actually, it worked. I didn't really believe in it, and for a lot of times, Shred got caught so many times, but it did work, definitely.
Absolutely, and they really showed up. The only thing that you've got to question is how aggressively they played. They were getting caught out from time to time. I think it was pretty funny when they recalled before the last fight, and I was thinking, oh yeah, Marcoon and Unforgiven, they're probably going to pick up their QSSs here, so they're safe from the Malzahar, and then he just buys like BF Sword and the Giant's Belt for the two respectively.
Yeah.
So just full combat stats, not giving a damn about those defenses. Did end up working out, but that confidence might come back to bite them if they're up against a stronger team. Speaking of that, though, can't wait to see these guys go up against Ventus. That's gonna be real good.
Absolutely. And with that said, we are not going to a break before I find out what is in this box that you are going to eat.
So you're deciding not to go for it?
Yeah, definitely. Like if I can get to decide this, that you are going to eat this. So you're going to eat this, but we're gonna wait. All right, just a little bit. I want to savor this. All right, so we're gonna go for a quick break. We're gonna come back again, and you're gonna have to eat this. I don't know. Maybe during the pause. We'll find out. All right, guys. So we'll be right back. Do not go anywhere, and we'll see you in a few seconds.